The assassin.
You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest.
What up, y'all? You're listening to Sports Talk with Tropp, and I'm your host, Katie Tropp. Well, before we get into things, today's episode is going to be a little bit longer than the normal Wednesday episodes are, just because there are going to be no shows on Friday or Monday because I am going to Palm Springs for a long weekend. So I will be back with a new show December 11th, next Wednesday. So today's show, it's going to be power rankings, and then I'm also going to do a breakdown of the weekend's games as well, just to get into those. And then next week, we'll just resume as normal, but there will be no shows this Friday or this coming Monday because I will be out of town. Anyways, let's get into Monday Night Football, which actually turned out to be a pretty decent game. It was a back and forth affair between both teams. Both quarterbacks, they were throwing interceptions. Both defenses were making big plays, whether they were scoring touchdowns or causing fumbles or sacking quarterbacks. It was a pretty defensive game, even though the score ended up being 41-32. Denver Broncos getting the win. Actually ended about as expected. Because, Jameis Winston, he was having a pretty solid game, but then he was also throwing the interceptions. And then, of course, he's leading the Browns on a game-winning drive, or trying to go on a game-winning drive, and he throws a pick six, which completely seals the deal for the Denver Broncos. But, I mean, it's no shock there. The Cleveland Browns are what they are, and that's how that game ended. So it actually turned out to be a pretty decent game, given that it didn't look like it was going to be a good game to start, because it was between two terrible teams. Well, the Broncos aren't terrible, but come on now. That should not have been our choice of Monday Night Football. Anyways, get to the top 10 NFL power rankings this week. Not a whole lot of changes. Some of the teams have shuffled around a bit, but it's pretty much the same usual suspects, because now we are pretty much at the home stretch of the NFL season. We have about a month left of the season. We have 5 games left for each team. So let's start it off with number 1 remains the Detroit Lions. They are 11-1. It's going to be interesting to see, though. Their injuries on defense are now starting to pile up, and they're starting to miss some big guys as well. I mean, we already knew they lost Hutchinson. They already lost Anzalone, and now they're just starting to lose other guys. And their defense is a huge part of the squad, but offensively, they're still a powerhouse. And I still have high expectations for them. I just think it's going to be interesting to see if these defensive injuries kind of cause them a couple losses here down the stretch, which they really can't afford, because their division's stacked right now, and everybody's gunning for them. And it's the last month of the season, which means division matchups are going to be coming here. Then at number 2 on my top 10 NFL power rankings are the Buffalo Bills. Overall record of 10-2. And it's just, this team continues to be a complete football team. They're great offensively. Josh Allen is just playing out of his mind this year. And then he's got Cook in the backfield, who's really just balancing out the offense. And even though they don't really have a number 1 receiver, they do have Amari Cooper, who could rise as that guy at some point. But I mean, right now they really haven't been reliable at the receiver position, but it doesn't matter because Josh Allen's just having that good of a year. Their offensive line is actually blocking very well, and their defense is extremely underrated. Nobody's really talking about their defense anymore, but they're getting the job done as well, and they're really holding their own against some really good quarterbacks. So we'll see if the Bills actually win a Super Bowl this year, because I think they're actually built to win a Super Bowl for sure. Then at number 3 on my top 10 NFL power rankings, a team that just keeps shooting up in the rankings for me, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Overall record of 10-2, and this win that they got over the Baltimore Ravens pretty much sealed the deal. I was kind of waffling on whether or not I really believed in the Eagles, and now I believe in the Eagles. They beat a good team, but also you look at Saquon Barkley, and this guy, he's leading the league in rushing, 1,499 yards and 11 touchdowns, and he just always seems to break out when the Eagles need him to. It kind of feels like he has a 70-yard run in every game this season, and even if he doesn't, you really just have to look out for him as a weapon, and that says a lot because this has always been one of the best ground teams in the league, but mostly because of Jalen Hurts, and now it's really completely turned, and Saquon is just carrying this team. But also their defense looks pretty solid too, and they've been very consistent. They've been getting turnovers. They've really been just getting at it on the defensive line, really pushing the opposing offensive line back and really just controlling the line the entire game. So I kind of feel like Saquon plus this defense are really what are the shining stars for this Philadelphia Eagles team. Then at number 4, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Overall record of 9-3. I feel like they're also getting better every game. I don't know if I believe in them yet as a championship level team because there's still a lot of questions offensively. But if you look at them offensively, they actually have been getting better every single week offensively since Russell Wilson took over at quarterback. And this week was probably their best offensive performance they've had all season long. And then, of course, the defense, we don't really even need to say anything about them. They're the best in the league, and they continue to carry them each and every week. Then at number 5 on my Tropp 10 NFL power rankings of the Kansas City Chiefs. Overall record of 11-1. With the Chiefs, even though they're 11-1, I feel like they just are getting worse every week. I mean, their secondary now is starting to fall apart and really, I mean, they got torn apart by Bryce Young. That's all we need to say. And it's becoming too much on Patrick Mahomes. At some point, it's going to cost them. And their offensive line really isn't giving him a lot of time either. So there's a lot that I see that is not looking good for the Kansas City Chiefs, and they have some pretty tough games coming down the stretch as well. So we'll see what happens as the rest of the season drags on. But they are 11-1, and they are still getting the wins, and that is all that matters. Then at number 6 on my Tropp 10 NFL power rankings are the Minnesota Vikings. Overall record of 10-2. You look at this team and I look at them and I go, can they overtake the Detroit Lions in their division? And it's very possible. They do still face off against each other towards the end of the season here, so that's very possible. And they both have difficult schedules down the stretch here. They both have division matchups. They both have they just have decent schedules where you look at them and you go, any loss is going to cost any of these teams between Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. And they're all in the thick of things, and they're all going to make the playoffs regardless of who wins the division. But I look at the Vikings, and they actually could overtake the Detroit Lions, especially because of these injuries that keep piling up for the Lions, whereas the Vikings, they actually look really good on offense, and they do have one of the best defenses in the league. Then at number 7 on my Tropp 10 NFL power rankings of the Green Bay Packers, overall record of 9-3. They have been a very solid team. I'd say their only weakness are the drop passes from the wide receivers. Other than that, Jordan Love is getting better. They're good on the ground, and they're good on defense. They're causing turnovers. They're getting at the quarterback. They play very well as a team. It's just the drop passes. Those could actually end up costing them, down the line in the playoffs. When you're playing against a good Detroit team, you don't want and it might come down to a drop pass on the very last play. You never know. So they got to really work on that this last month. But it's kind of been an issue for them. So I wouldn't be shocked if it's an issue for them come playoff time. Then at number 8 on my Tropp 10 NFL power rankings, a team that is starting to fall a little bit is the Baltimore Ravens. Their overall record is 8-5, and to me, it's just they're not really consistent, especially against good teams. They keep getting beat, and it's all about the small things. You have to win on those small things. If you lose by a toe, you still lost the game. It doesn't matter. And they aren't. They're missing field goals, and it's just they're not really. They're just getting beat in the just really small margins, and it's going to cost you, especially once you hit the playoffs. Those small margins get magnified, and that could be an issue. But they are still a good team. Lamar Jackson actually has had probably a better season than last year statistically, and last year he won the MVP. So he's obviously in the conversation there, and he's obviously played a fantastic season. Same with Derrick Henry, but it's just like those little things could cost them in the end, and they're starting to cost them in these last down the stretch here, and you really don't want to lose a grip now. Then at number 9 on my Tropp 10 NFL power rankings, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Overall record of 8-4. Their offense is very inconsistent because they really haven't found a number one receiver. They've tried with Quentin Johnston, and he makes big plays, but he also drops a lot of passes. And now they've got Lad McConkey, who seems to be getting going in this offense, but yet to really, carry this team, such as other receivers have along the way. And then this injury to J.K. Dobbins could be an issue for them as well. But overall, defensively, they're one of the best in the league. They have no issues causing turnovers. They have no issues getting to the quarterback. And overall, they're just a very, very good team. And then rounding out the Tropp 10 NFL power rankings this week, I have the Houston Texans. Overall record of 8-5. They are just hanging on to their division. I mean, barely. But lucky for them, their division is the Tennessee Titans, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Indianapolis Colts. And I don't see any one of those three teams even having a shot at this. It would have to be Houston having the most epic collapse ever, because I do think they are the much better team. But there are issues with them where I look at them and I go, this could potentially be a one-and-done team when they make the playoffs, and that's just not what you're looking for with this team. We're looking for them to maybe at least get to the championship team or the championship round of the playoffs, just because that's kind of the expectations you would look at them to have, is to get better from last year. But who knows? There's still plenty of time for them to get things together, but, their offensive line has been an issue, and they really haven't exploded on the offensive side of the ball other than Joe Mixon right now. All right, and since we only have 5 weeks left of football, we might as well start talking about the playoff picture and seeing where we're at. Actually, 2 teams have already clinched playoff spots, and neither of them are a surprise. So let's start off with the AFC and the 2 teams that have clinched playoff spots. Right now, the number 1 seed would be the Kansas City Chiefs, who have clinched a playoff spot. They are 11-1 on the season. Then number 2, Buffalo Bills. They've also clinched a playoff spot. They're 10-2. Number 3 seed, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 9-3 on the season and have a pretty solid grip right now on the division. And then at number 4 is the Houston Texans. They're 8-5 on the season, also leading their division. And then the wild card spots go to number 5 right now, the Los Angeles Chargers. They're 8-4. Number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. They're 8-5. And number 7, the Denver Broncos. They're 8-5. And right now, on the outside looking in, we have the Indianapolis Colts at 6-7, the Miami Dolphins at 5-7, and the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-8. So to me, the AFC kind of looks like it's pretty much set. I don't really see any of those 7 teams that already have that are already mentioned today. I kind of feel like those are going to be the 7 that we see for the AFC. And then the NFC right now, the number 1 overall seeds, the Detroit Lions at 11-1. They currently have their division lead. Then at number 2 is the Philadelphia Eagles. They're at 10-2, and I kind of feel like they are easily going to win their division. Number 3 seed right now is the Seattle Seahawks. They're 7-5 and just barely holding the lead on their division. Number 4 seed right now is the Atlanta Falcons. They are also just barely holding on to the lead in their division at 6-6. Then at number 5, the wild card spots, we have the Minnesota Vikings. They're 10-2. Number 6 spot, Green Bay at 9-3. And the number 7 spot at the Washington Commanders, 8-5. And then on the outside looking in, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are in line for either their division or potentially a wild card spot at 6-6. Arizona Cardinals, same thing, potentially could still win their division or wild card spot at 6-6. And Los Angeles Rams are in the same spot as the last 2 teams mentioned. Could potentially win their division, but also in line for a wild card spot at 6-6. I look at the NFC, and I feel like the only things that could change are just the division leaders, of course. And I feel like it's either going to be between Seattle and the Rams for the West, and then I actually feel like Tampa's going to creep up and take the South from the Falcons. But we still have a month here left to go of football, so a lot can happen between now and then. All right, so let's get to the Week 14 preview and also my head-to-head matchup with Simon Ruvalcaba, which I am just running away with. Last week, I went 14-2 to bump my record up to 130 wins and 65 losses, and he went 12-4 last week to bump his total up to 112 wins and 83 losses. So Week 14, like I said, I'm going to run through all of them, even including the Monday night game, because like I said, there will be no Friday and Monday show. So Thursday night football this week is going to be an excellent matchup between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. This is a big game because this is for the division. Green Bay has already lost to Detroit at home earlier this season in a crazy showdown. But this time around, Green Bay is a little bit more healthy. They're a little bit more consistent, whereas Detroit, they are actually basically the position the Packers were in the last matchup. Detroit now is dealing with the injuries, and I kind of feel like this is going to be a game where it actually costs them. Now, I do think it's going to be a close matchup. I kind of feel like it's going to be one of those back and forth deals between both teams where it's just going to be score after score, and it's probably going to come down to a last game winning drive. But since Detroit won the last one, and I do see Detroit having to deal with these injuries, I think it's going to cost them in certain games, and this is going to be one of them. I have the Packers winning a close one, 28-27. And this is the only disagreement between Simon and I this week. He actually has this one going into overtime with the Detroit Lions winning 27-24. I would not be surprised with either winner. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I said, but Detroit's a 3.5-point favorite in that one. But like I said, I just kind of feel like since Detroit won the last one, I kind of feel like Green Bay is going to be looking to win this one. But regardless, whoever wins it's really making things come down to the bitter end in this division. Then moving on to Sunday's games, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Right now, the Titans are a 4.5-point favorite. It's been confirmed that Trevor Lawrence is going to be out for the rest of the season due to that concussion, which it should be fine just because Jacksonville's season is pretty much over. So are the Titans. They're both just kind of playing for respect right now. And I do expect both teams to fight hard. It is a division battle, but I'm just leaning towards Tennessee in this one. They're a bit more healthy. They're a bit more of a legit squad. And I've got the Titans winning 23-17, and Simon also has the Titans winning 27-20. Then we have the New York Jets at the Miami Dolphins. Right now, the Dolphins are a 6.5-point favorite. As I continue to say, I do not trust the Jets at all. I'm probably not going to pick them again this season. And Miami offensively actually look a lot better. Their last game, not so much. But before that, they were really starting to get it going. And now they're going to be at home. And the Jets kind of feel like they're a team that's just not really playing that hard each and every week. And now it's obviously over for them. So, and I mean, it's, Miami's still kind of in it, but I expect Miami to pretty much dominate this one 30-20. And Simon also has Miami winning this one 23-20. Then we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. Right now, the Vikings are a 4.5-point favorite. This is Kirk Cousins' homecoming, if you will, to Minnesota, where he used to play. But I don't think this is going to be a good homecoming for him. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's basically a repeat of what he did last week, because this Vikings defense is just about as stout as that Los Angeles Chargers defense. So I feel like it's going to be a long day for Kirk Cousins, and I do think the Vikings offense is probably going to have a field day as well, because the Atlanta Falcons defense is not that good. So I think it's just going to be a complete and utter domination by the Vikings, 31-17. And Simon also has the Vikings winning 27-21. Then we have the New Orleans Saints at the New York Giants. Right now, the Saints are a 4.5-point favorite. The Giants are one of the worst teams in the league and pretty much playing for the first pick in the draft next year, which they could really use, because if they get the first pick, you got to go after Shedeur Sanders. But if you're the Giants, you probably will completely overlook that and not go after him, which would be hilarious, but they probably will. But with that being said, I feel like the Saints, they actually are still playing for the season. I mean, they're technically still in line for the playoffs. They need a lot to go their way, but they're still in it, especially because their division is absolutely atrocious. But they're still in it. And so they have something to play for. I feel like they're a better team. The Giants are terrible. They're on their 12th string quarterback at this rate. So I have the Saints winning this one 20-10. Simon also has the Saints winning this one 38-21. Then we have the Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, the Eagles are a 12.5-point favorite, which sounds about right. Just because, the Eagles, they are rolling right now. I don't really think the Panthers are going to have any answers for the Eagles. This is going to be a really stout defense they're going to face. As a matter of fact, I kind of feel like it's going to be a really long day for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers offense. I don't doubt that they're going to give it their all, as they usually do, but I still think the Eagles are going to pretty much dominate this game, 24-14. And Simon also has the Eagles winning this one 31-16. Then we have the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, the Steelers are a 6.5-point favorite. Basically, ever since the Steelers got beat by the Browns a couple weeks ago, the Steelers have gone off on an offensive tear, and I don't really see the Steelers losing 2 games to the Browns in one season. So I feel like this is going to be a good get-right game for them. As a matter of fact, I think it's going to be nothing like the last game that they had. I feel like the Steelers are going to dominate this one on offense and defense. I have the Steelers winning 26-10. And Simon also has the Steelers winning 27-17. Then we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right now, the Buccaneers are a 7.5-point favorite. The Raiders are basically in the same boat as the Giants, pretty much playing for that first pick in the draft, and they also need a quarterback, and they would absolutely take Shedeur Sanders 100%. As a matter of fact, I feel like that's what they're playing for, and this team is just terrible, whereas Tampa, they're playing for a playoff spot, and, they got Mike Evans back. Bucky Irvin is really starting to shine at the running back position. And then, of course, they have Baker Mayfield, who's also having a fantastic year. So I've got the Buccaneers dominating this one, 28-7. Simon also has the Buccaneers winning this one, 23-17. Then we have the Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals. Right now, the Cardinals are a 2.5-point favorite. This actually was a pretty crazy game last week or 2 weeks ago. It was not that long ago, but these two were trading off barbs, but Seattle did get the better of Arizona in this one. They were able to really cause some turnovers from Kyler and really just kind of make it a very confusing game for him defensively. But I feel like it's going to be the opposite this one. Seattle, they're not that consistent, and I really wouldn't be shocked if, honestly, this NFC West just comes down to the final week, and these NFC West teams just beat up on each other the remaining month of the season. And I feel like that's going to be the same in this game, where it's just going to be a battle back and forth between both teams. But I think Arizona's going to get the better of them this time around, 23-21, and Simon also has Arizona winning this one, 20-17. Then we have the Buffalo Bills at the Los Angeles Rams. Right now, the Bills are a 4.5-point favorite. The Rams are way too inconsistent for me. I wouldn't be shocked if they were able to win this game, and I also wouldn't be shocked if they make this a game. But I also wouldn't be shocked if Buffalo blows them out of the water 42-10, because that's just how the Rams have played this season. Now, the Rams, they also have playoff implications on the line, so they're definitely going to be playing hard in this one, but I just feel like Buffalo is the much better team. I do think the Rams will make it a good game, but I've got Buffalo winning this one 27-20. Simon also has the Bills winning this one 27-21. Then we have the Chicago Bears at the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, the Niners are a 5.5-point favorite. It's been confirmed that Christian McCaffrey is going to miss the rest of the season. And so that's just another blow to their offense. But I just kind of feel like the Niners, out of all the NFC West teams, I feel like they have the least shot at even making the playoffs. And even if they do, who cares? They're not going to be a competitive team down the playoff stretch. But I do expect them to win this one just because I feel like their pride is on the line. They really have looked pretty terrible these last couple of games. They're back at home, and the Chicago Bears aren't really that good. Now, they did just fire their coach, so that might light a fire under their ass and kind of give them something to play for, but I do think the Niners will just put this one together and get the win 23-17. Simon also has the Niners winning this one 21-20. Then the Sunday Night Football matchup is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now, the Chiefs are a 3.5-point favorite. Yet another division battle, and the Chargers actually made the first matchup a really close game. It was just another one of those Chargers handing the Chiefs the win. It kind of feels like I keep saying, the Chiefs, to me, just keep getting worse each and every week, whereas the Chargers actually get better every week. They still have a long way to go. I don't think they're on the Chiefs' planet right now. But I do think if facing off in one game, they absolutely have a shot. And I think actually in this one, they will get the better of the Chiefs. I think their defense is really going to make things difficult for Patrick Mahomes. And I feel like he's going to cause some turnovers. And the Chargers might even score on those turnovers, and that might actually be the difference in this one. And I feel like Justin Herbert is going to tear apart that secondary that's been getting torn apart for the Chiefs over the last couple of weeks, because if Bryce Young could tear them apart, imagine what Justin Herbert could do. It's just, can his receivers catch the ball? But I do think it's actually going to be the Chargers defense that is the difference in this one. And I have the Chargers winning a close one, 24-21. And Simon also has the Chargers winning this one 27-20. And then the Monday Night Football matchup is the Cincinnati Bengals at my Dallas Cowboys. Right now, the Bengals are a 6.5-point favorite, which I find kind of shocking simply because the Bengals are not better than the Cowboys. They're both, to me, equal teams. So I feel like this should actually be a pretty good game. Would not be shocked if Joe Burrow just has an amazing game. He and Jamar Chase would not be shocked if they just absolutely annihilate us. But I will say the Cowboys defense has actually shown some life over the last couple of weeks, and they actually have got better over the last couple of weeks. So I do think they're going to play a decent game. I do think it's going to be a close game. And I actually do have the Cowboys winning this one 24-17, simply because both teams are pretty much equal. The Bengals defense is terrible, so don't be shocked if if CeeDee Lamb especially actually goes off and has a really standout game, which he really hasn't had yet this season. And then Simon also has the Cowboys winning this one 27-23. And then we do have a few teams on bye weeks as well. We have the Denver Broncos, the Indianapolis Colts, Houston Texans, Baltimore Ravens, Washington Commanders, and New England Patriots are all on a bye week this week. And now let's get to the college football playoff top 12 rankings. This is it, guys. This is the last week of college football. I mean, the regular season is complete, but now it's just the conference championship games. But I got to say, this 12 right here is probably this 12. Because even if you end up losing your conference championship matchup this weekend, you probably are still going to at least make the playoff. It's just really the seeding and how things work out. But we do have a couple of matchups this week that are going to matter for what happens. But this is the college football playoff top 12 teams. So number 1 remains Oregon because they're 12-0, and they will be playing number 3 ranked Penn State for their the Big Ten championship. So we'll see what happens there, if Penn State's able to get the better of them, or if Oregon just keeps on winning. But it's going to be a very interesting matchup, but I still expect both of those teams, regardless of how the conference championship turns out, I expect to see both of them in the playoff. Then at number 2, hook 'em horns, motherfucker, hook 'em horns, hook 'em horns. Moving up to number 2 this week, the Texas Longhorns, 11-1 on the season. They got the win over Texas A&M, 17-7, and they will be playing for the SEC championship this weekend against number 5 Georgia. This is Longhorns' first year in the SEC, by the way, first year, and we go to the championship game. If Georgia loses, they could fall out of the rankings, but I don't know. There's a lot of questionable teams here at the bottom, so I don't know. But the Longhorns, I feel like if they lose, they should absolutely be in line for the playoff. But hopefully they do not lose, and hopefully we get some revenge on Georgia for kicking our ass earlier this season. Then at number 3, as I said, is Penn State. They moved up a spot. They're 11-1 on the season, and they will be playing number 1 Oregon this week. Then at number 4, Notre Dame moved up a spot. They ended their season 11-1 after taking out USC 49-35. Moving up 2 spots to number 5 this week, Georgia. They barely got by Georgia Tech 44-42. As I said, they will be playing number 2 Texas for the SEC championship game this weekend. Number 6, Ohio State, falling 4 spots. They took the big hit this week because they got beat by Michigan 13-10. But they're still there. So, I mean, obviously they still have to be there. They've been one of the top teams all season. They just never can beat Michigan, at least over these past few years. And then at number 7, moving up a spot, that is Tennessee. They ended their season 10-2. Then moving up a spot as well to number 8 is SMU. They ended their season, or they are 11-1. They will actually be playing number 17 Clemson this week for the ACC championship. Then at number 9, moving up a spot, is Indiana. They ended their season 11-1. Moving up a spot to number 10 is Boise State. They are 11-1, and they will be playing their conference championship against number 20 UNLV this weekend. And then moving up 2 spots to number 11 is Alabama, and they are 9-3, or they ended their season 9-3. This would be the questionable one out of all of them. But I mean, really, if you look at Alabama's schedule, they have had some really quality wins, and when you look at it, that's just how it is. And you know, I would not be shocked if Alabama got some wins here in the playoff either. So it is what it is, but we'll see what happens after the weekend. And then rounding out the college football playoff rankings at number 12, huge drop this week, dropping 6 spots. Miami, their couple of losses have been bad, so they've dropped all the way down to 12. But like I said, I kind of feel like this is probably what it's going to be. Especially a lot of these top-heavy teams. I mean, you can't tell me that Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State, you can't tell me that those teams don't deserve to be here. Hell, even Tennessee, they've been ranked all season long. And then, of course, Boise State. Boise State absolutely deserves to be there. But, I mean, these last couple of teams, it just is how it is. And Alabama got some good wins. That's what happens when you're in the SEC and get those big wins. It just only helps bolster your resume, if you will, to get into the college football playoff. All right, y'all. As I said, there will be no shows on Friday or Monday, so I will see you next Wednesday with a brand new show. So enjoy the long week of sports, and I will talk to you fools on December 11th.